How have things? Okay. Well, first of all, let's say this. Hey, what's
What
up?
up? What's up? All
Uh,
right, so we rolling.
we rolling. We rolling.
We
We
rolling.
rolling. We
So
rolling.
this is Art Mob, officially Art Mob episode one.
Episode one. Episode one. This is the meetup. This is the meetup. This is the mastermind. Two minds coming together, and I want to say that, hey, welcome to the Art Mob, where
Welcome.
we make culture and build generational wealth utilizing technology, blockchain, mindset, and community. We looked at mint culture and highlight culture. And the first thing that I want to do is really give a shout out to my brother Leonzo here for joining, because when we first met, and I'm gonna just cut right into it, but when we first met, we were introduced by the Queen Carla Ballard, who is just that, just the queen, and she knew that both of us needed to kind of meet because of what our similar philosophies were, and just the type of energy that we had, and passion that we had for the space of just maximizing those that come from at-risk backgrounds, give them a different perspective in life and some energy and support behind that, and allow them to flourish, and whether that came from just being a creative, or being in tech, or being in finance, or being in agriculture, she just knew that we needed to sit down. And when she brought that project, when Carla and Chris brought that project down to Puerto Rico at Sojourn Project, and we got a chance to do a podcast together. And the cool thing about it was the flip way. It was is you were interviewing me, and I, as somebody that comes from an 80s culture, a street culture, and then been on camera a bit, but never necessarily really answering questions and all of that. It felt really easy to chop it up with you, and I've always kind of had that seed in my mind that I wanted to do something with you moving forward. And then when this project and opportunity came up, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I can chat, but I don't really want to chat by myself. and
Right.
and I didn't really want to feel like I wasn't, being educated, getting educated, and really getting the best of what my personality is, in terms of being somebody that's knowledgeable and entertaining, and somebody in this blockchain space. So when I was trying to put this podcast together, I was like, look, it's a short list. And then, Art Basel happened, the NFTs, kind of popped back up really hard in your life. And then, I had reached out a couple through the holidays, and then you reached out, and I was like, all right, cool. The timing is right. Let's get after this. So, I'm definitely thankful to have you, brother, on this inaugural chat of what Art Mob is, and minting culture, and NFT education. And, thank you, man. So, tell the crew a little bit about yourself, brother.
Oh man, well, thank you. Thank you for having me here on the show. I'm super excited. And my name is Leonzo Art Mob. What's popping? What is happening? I'm really excited to be here. Just to introduce who I am and what I do, I am a community architect by way of Global Village, which is building a village of people from different backgrounds through interactive and immersive experiences that really bring out the best of people and elevate them to a new level. So really it's interesting because it's really a destination, and I love saying that I'm here to be a vessel to take people from where they're at to where they could be through creativity. So yeah, that's why I'm a community architect, experience curator. I'm an entrepreneur, take things, make nothing out of something. And then I'm also a recording artist. I also host, and I'm also a speaker as well. And yeah, man, and I just have a passion for creating connections and galvanizing communities through unique creative experience, both physical and digital. So here we are. I reached out to Major. Major was telling me about the importance of NFTs a year ago, y'all. I went to Art Basel, and all I could think about was Major, reach out to Major. As soon as I got back home to Philadelphia from Miami, I reached out and was like, hey, what do you have going on? How can I participate? And how can we bring this world to people like us? Here we are.
Oh man, blessed, man. That's so blessed. I love that. I know that just even talking about where we come from and like how we even got here. Like I know my story, and people always, hear me chat about my story, but being from the Bronx, because we have similar backgrounds, two kids from the Bronx, Caribbean background, immigrant families, coming up in hard times, but as I say, you give a little strife, you give a little pressure, you'd be crazy to don't think that they don't make diamonds. So so to come out of the background that you come from, give us a little insight about that.
Absolutely. So as you stated, we're both from the Bronx. So I was born in the Bronx, now live in Philly, but my family's from Honduras. First generation American born citizen, which now, I'm really understanding the importance of that and the privilege of that, especially like traveling, and of course that statement can be controversial, but I really feel that being born in the United States, we have resources that a lot of people in other countries don't have, right? And being born in the Bronx now. So now being born in the Bronx where we, I really faced hardships. I grew up in a single parent household. My dad was in and out. My dad was in and out, and really just being tapped into the Bronx, understanding the culture, having all this music that consistently played. As you know, New York City is one of the most beautifulest melting pots in the world, and different cultures and ethnicities. So you're always exposed to the differences that we all have, but also understanding the unity that we all have that comes from music and creativity. And really being in that spot really taught me, really being born in the Bronx really taught me a lot about accepting one's differences, also like uniting people, and how music, whether that's like listening to Hot 97, whether that's listening to a Garifuna station, whether that's listening to a reggaeton or bachata station, what being exposed to these different just these different arts and the different cultures mean, and just how proud people are to be part of a culture, whether that's hip hop, right? Whether that's like where your family's from, like the country and things of that sort. And one of the cool things for me was I'm actually Garifuna, and that's my culture, that's my heritage. And for those who don't know,
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna ask.
Yeah.
Put me on.
For those who don't know, what Garifuna is once upon a time there was slave traders who went from Europe to Africa, and they were in the slave trade, and people from West Africa migrated to wherever the slave traders were taking them to. And for my ancestors, there was one of the ships, or a few ships, they actually crashed, and which was then called Arube, is now called St. Vincent, St. Lucia. And the West Africans then landed in St. Vincent, and essentially connected and blended with the Caribs of St. Vincent, and created this culture called Garifuna. Right, over time it became culture called, Garifuna. And then from there, they battled with the French and the British over land, and were actually exiled from St. Vincent to Roatan, Honduras, which is where my family's from Honduras. And then from there, the Garifunas then spread from Honduras and started to migrate to Belize and Guatemala and things of that sort. So that's what. And then now, my family and a bunch of my previous generation, they then migrated to the States, and now I think worldwide, there's over 250,000 Garifunas in the world. So I really take pride in that. And the reason why I brought that up was to share just like another thing of what culture and the importance of that, and how my culture and the music and the art and the food played a huge part in my life. And I took a trip to Honduras when I was 23. I'm 30 now, and there I really understood and tapped into my culture. I actually just went to Honduras this past year and got deeper into understanding my roots, and learned that my grandmother's parents are both French and Nicaraguan, which is such an interesting concept, right? An interesting thing that I never knew my entire life. But anyway, so took a trip to Honduras and understood kind of the culture of Garifuna and how they're resource sharing in Honduras, and that's where the term village came to me. And then came back home and shared that with my friends, and they also mentioned that where their family's from, and when they go back to their native countries, that it's the same way of life. So that's where global village came to me. And I really wanted to build community around that same thing, just like building an ecosystem amongst ourselves and using creativity to uplift. So that's kind of my journey to where I'm at.
Wow, real powerful, real powerful. I mean, and I think, just hearing that again, knowing a bit about your story, but just hearing that again, the energy and the pride that comes from it just kind of drips off of you. And I think that right there is definitely where we really kind of overlap, our love for culture and our love for our culture. It being, in the grand scheme of the world, we all come from a similar background of Africa. And then through the years of, as some people call it, displacement, but as of slave trade, the years we end up over in on this side of the world. Now, some people will still also dispute what was the slave trade, what was not, who was here.
Right.
So
very true.
We don't know everybody was slaves, but nonetheless, of what we're trying to do to depict this whole thing. So we all come over, and your family, your ancestors ended up in St. Vincent and St. Lucia. Mine ended up in Jamaica, and very similarly, my family moved up to the States. My both grandmothers moved everybody up to the States. Both grandmothers were the first ones in the States doing the things normal Jamaican women do, raise rich white kids, in these places as nannies. They bring my grandparents up, all the kids up, and then my parents ended up meeting in high school and had me here stateside. And
Wow.
but just kind of like how most immigrant families are, especially at this time in the 80s, you know, in New York, people don't realize New York is a melting pot of, you know, mini segregation. Everybody has their sort of set of where they are. You know, the cool thing about it, the reason why it's a melting pot is because they're easy to get to when you're in a pedestrian style city. But everybody got their little section. So the Jamaicans, you know, we populate Brooklyn, Bronx, you know,
Right.
these particular places, but mostly Brooklyn and the Bronx. So I grew up in the Bronx, you know, at that point. And, you know, my ability to kind of always go back to Jamaica from 3 months old and being in the culture really gave me a view. But then once I started playing basketball and really kind of, you know, fell more into, you know, American culture, you find that you really kind of start losing a little bit of that thing that makes you you, and you just start to become a little bit more homogenized. Fast forward, as you travel the world, as you travel the globe, you really start to see and notice the different things and cultures and the things that people either relate to you with, like you about, promote you as, hype you up about. And then for me, you know, those aha moments was just the different types of people I would see and interact with and feel that I would still be the same person. And me, in my mind, I was taking mental note of what those same traits that I was consistently keeping that would attract them to me. And you know, some things as simple as just an accent change can kind of really just change the whole mood in the whole damn room. You know, and when you see little things like that, you're like, all right, there's something to this, but I'm also not that type of person, so I'm not trying to play that up. But you realize culture, it's a part of culture, the food, the dance, you know, and all of these things. And then you look at hip hop culture and see what that's done all over the world. You know, me as a Jamaican, I take a lot of pride in that, mainly because without Jamaica, there's no hip hop, right? And everything that kind of comes from that. So it's something that is very, you know, a point of pride, our culture. And, you know, I feel the point of this whole idea of the art mob is now, you know, activating those people who realize and see what culture is at its base point, and activate those people and empower them so that they can witness and, you know, kind of their culture, you know, their little part of it. Because just because I'm Jamaican, I very well realized that when I went back down to Jamaica to do business years later, I was a Jamaican. You know what I mean? Like, I realized that there's just something different about being a Jamaican in the United States versus being a Jamaican in Yard. You know, it's just the same. And now that I live here in Puerto Rico, I see the same as well. You know, we no matter, you have these labels, but within these labels there are these little crevices and grooves, and those are those things that really are organic and last and really kind of move culture along. And I feel now is the time that we can kind of give voice to them and empower them to give voice to themselves. Because with this new blockchain technology that says, you know, the information lasts forever, I don't know what's going to be important 1,000 years from now. But I'm not going to not allow you to have the chance or the information to allow you to partake in that, because you could make something that seems so benign now. You can make a song, you can make something dope. Like, your music can be passed down to your great grandkids because you are a creator, you know, and that right there hasn't been able to be done before. We used to get jerked, we used to get looked over, we used to get, you know, signed bad contracts. Now we have opportunity to do something different.
That's it. Yeah. And I think everything that you just stated, the value of all of that is something that has never been, you know, as far as like, you know, how these decentralized systems have now allowed us to really have ownership, but also being able to leverage, you know, the internet. The one thing, the importance of the internet being created and being a channel for us to directly connect without there needing to be a middle person, you know, has been such a monumental step. And now blockchain to be able to build on top of that, where now, you know, we dictate what systems we want to operate under, right? And as a collective, as a community, you can make those choices, and then under that system, under that foundation, then you can share like, what do you want to create and what do you want to give off. And it's really like our own ecosystems that have been able to be developed because of this you know, blockchain. And now as artists, you know, being able to create to being able to take something that you created, you know, put a stake on it as like, this, I am the original owner, and this is the contract that I'm able to put on top of it, and being able to now use the internet to distribute that to other people in your ecosystem that you've built is just like, you know, or that you've built or that you've connected to based off of the shared principles, values, and morals is really, really so valuable. And I'm really excited for this project. Really excited for this project because we're gonna look back on this. We're gonna look back at this interview, you know, and be like, wow, this was a monumental step. And I think a lot of people are gonna be appreciative of putting that information out, because this is gonna be common practice in the next few years.
Oh man, for sure, 100%. You know, yeah, I mentioned the internet, you know, and it just gave me a thought. Like, the thing is about that internet, it's like that's Web 1.0, right? And we're talking about not that long ago, Bryant Gumbel was just trying to figure out what the fuck was an at sign, you know, like, like, you know, like back when we used to call the hashtag the pound symbol, you know, like that wasn't that far ago. So it's like that's Web 1.0, where it's just give me information and people just pushing stuff at you. Then it's like you jump up to 2.0. So now you got what we have right now, your apps that have been laid over, where we're giving everybody our data and they're holding and storing our data on these big, you know, storage units, and then being able to sell our data. Right now you got Web.3, which is why NFTs are important, because now you can hold ownership of whatever you have and then utilize the internet and these apps to distribute your data, but you ultimately own and are responsible for it. You know, so cryptocurrency is great for that. NFTs are great for that. So this is why it's even, and the way that kind of comes off like easy for me is, and it takes a while to even be able to think in those ways, because, you know, to think like, oh yeah, I'm just logging in, yeah, cool. Well, look, eventually you're not even going to need passwords. All you're going to need is your web wallet, and your web wallet's going to be your verification of ID. So there's a lot of things that are moving. The space is moving super fast. And the biggest note of all of this, especially when we're talking about the culture, is to get the information out to them. Because you and I both know, left to our own devices, when we talk about people in the places that we come from, there's so much pressure that is on them for them to take their head up over it or around it or move it away, for them to see or even think of what the idea of the future is. And
Wow. Can I
if,
add to that?
yeah.
You know, it's so important. Like when you just said that, like to look up, it is a lot of pressure, right? And because we're dealing with so much, which is not an excuse, is like just the reality, but also being able to be a trusted figure. I feel like that's something else that lacks, right? And it's like, who are the trusted individuals where it doesn't feel like there's an ulterior objective, you know?
Well, yeah, that's that, and you know, it's really hard right now because it's moving so fast. So that's why you have to be dedicated to this. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, I've said this many times. You know, I'm like, look, I'm dedicating 3 strong years to educating, you know, and putting out the data and information and the breadcrumbs and the
Mhm.
resources and the support and the hand holding, because at that point, all the information that is needed to get you up to the point to be relevant, you will have.
Mhm.
And then I can focus on really, you know, building, you know, moving forward and along, because you know, when we are teaching, you know, there's still people, or when we are in the in an ignorant stage, there's people who are building, there's people who are moving. This thing is moving really fast. You take 15 years to figure this thing out, that is like 1,000 years in the metaverse, in the digital space.
The
And
digital space is like dog years.
you know what I mean? Big time, man, big time. So,
Right.
so we need to be a trusted space. We need to be a trusted group. Like, I'm not gonna try. Like, I'm not on here trying to like shill stuff. We talk about things that make sense. We talk about things that can educate. We talk about things that are, you know, both positive and negative, but just be able to give the real deal. We want to talk, we'll be talking with project creators, you know, we'll be talking with community managers, you know, we'll be talking with influencers, and we're going to be asking them, you know, the tough questions and the hard questions, because at the end of the day, as I always used to say, when I was in finance back in the day, and I would feel intimidated by a lot of these big boys that would come into work. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I mean, I was obviously at a different time in my life, but at the end of the day, I could always fuck you up. And I'm like, I would always think this, like, and that would kind of like make me feel a little bit better. But
That's how you know you're from the Bronx. I
you
feel like
know,
that's everybody who's from the Bronx has that mindset. You in the back of your mind, you like, bro, you won't even know if I really
I'm about to say,
this joke could jump off, but you know, luckily I'm like, you know, like a different place. Yo, that's 100% facts.
you know, and this space deals with a bit of different navigation, because this is not the same type of people that you would deal with, you know, one on the streets, two, the type of people that are in this space are different, you know, and yeah, physically is one thing, but that's not how you want to navigate this this space, especially when it comes to us, you know. I think that within our own culture, within our own community, and I'm talking about those from those millennial, those hip hop generations on, like that whole, you know, group, like there's enough there that we can support ourselves, giving ourselves the right amount of support. You get what I'm saying? Like, so if we're giving people the tools, they're making revenue, we're supporting those tools and those projects, and we can build that ecosystem because there is enough value in it, and there is enough upside, you know, in it, and all eyes are on us. You know, we're the content creators that they're looking for, and you know, you know that you're one of the grade A content creators.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, you're on point. That's it, you know. connect. We build community. We know how to connect to people, and that's right. That's capital. That's the world we live in. Is how do you connect what you do or what the product you've created to people, and as content creators, as creatives, we have that ability. So more, and it's time to empower that, and showcase that we are the ones who know how to connect, and that's valuable. That's super valuable, super valuable. And I think when people understand the education of how to take what is innate to them, and understand how to like put that in a container. That's one thing. That's one thing. This is why I'm really excited for these conversations, man. Like, one of the things that I've come in contact with creatives and entrepreneurs and things of that sort is two things, right? One, when it comes to artists, creatives, it's understanding how to capture value, whether that's financial sustainability. And I realized a lot of that comes because we're using Instagram, right? And I've learned that Instagram is the place for people to get to know you. This is what I do, world. And this is my lifestyle. And these are my experiences. Whether that's real or fake, right? Like, this is what I'm putting out. But I learned, like, the thing that as artists, the hard thing that we come across is putting that in a container, like building containers around us for when people know us. How do you and if I like what you do, right? I like who you are. Where can I financially support you? Those containers aren't, may not be fully built,
Right.
and those funnel systems. And then you have another issue is just like, what is the infrastructure to be able to funnel, to be able to take what I do, what I like to do, and be able to generate income from that. And what are the things that I need to put myself or surround myself with to make that happen? And I'll tell you one thing, NFTs, blockchains is a real big, it solves some of those issues,
Yeah,
so,
man. Yeah, man. Yeah.
For sure.
Big time,
Sure,
man.
for sure.
To piggyback off of what you said about just containers, right? That's one hard thing to really get a real creative to really allow themselves to put themselves in a container, because it's like, shackles and stuff. And when I got into the blockchain space and I started dealing with crypto, like, I was really excited about that, because I was like, wow, everybody gets to start at the same place, like, awesome. It's a flashing starting sign. Let's get in. So this is what we're talking about. This is what, 2014, right? And but then I'm like, all right, then you get caught up in life, and I'm doing my juice bar, and I'm in Dubai, blah, blah, blah. And then, I come back into it when I get back stateside, like 2017. And I was really gung-ho about it and about getting to teach people about it. But the biggest thing, and it goes back to when I was in finance, I'm just like, finance is emotional. People don't even understand money. So how can I get our people to really understand blockchain? It's just a bit too emotional because it's too erratic. So then, kind of move here to Puerto Rico. I'm sitting down, and I'm in the mix. Now I'm in the cradle of this kind of crypto haven with all of these big boys. And I'm sitting and I'm learning, and I'm just seeing how this thing is done, and I'm being given ridiculous access, and but I'm still not too confident in the people,
Mhm.
especially the people that I want to deal with, in the people. So I'm just like, well, let me try to figure out another way to give people a freedom strategy, and rather than trying to figure out crypto so far, and let's focus on agriculture. And then when NFTs came back up, I pivoted from agriculture and just went hard into NFTs because I saw it as your IP, your intellectual property, which allows you not to really necessarily be in containers. Or if you do put something in a container and have to jump to another container, you have left your imprint as an NFT. So if somebody does use it, you get a royalty, you get some type of residual. So to be able to be in containers as a creative, it allows you now to say, all right, you know what? Use me as I'll stand in this container for you. I'll make something, I'll make it an NFT, I'll move to another container, or I'll move to be something else. But whatever work I've done and I've contributed can now be monetized for me, my families, for life to come. And that right there is the big time game changer, just in the mindset that those old mechanics and those old legacy systems, created for us. And then, when you're talking about infrastructure, to be able to build out infrastructure, proper infrastructure, roadmaps, communities, systems, and not just build it where anyone can come in. You want to, this thing is hard work.
Mhm.
This thing is hard work. And I do know this much. If they listen to this podcast between you and I, not only will we both learn more and stay up on top of the game, but this work and this roadmap and this infrastructure, this is something that the Art Mob, that's something that we're going to be creating here, and really get something to our community and move them along this platform.
100%. Period. Period. Yep. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? No cap.
Word, no cap. Full stop.
No cap.
So I'm gonna tell y'all. So team, listen, y'all. If y'all like some of this content, y'all witnessed our first podcast. This is the Art Mob. We're minting culture, and we're teaching freedom strategies, building generational wealth using NFTs, blockchain, and mindset for the culture. So listen, subscribe, love us, ask us to come and talk. You have two amazing speakers here. This man, that's on this stage with me right here is ridiculous energy, super inspirational. And I'm gonna tell you this, in terms of thought leaders, I wouldn't put my my money on anybody else but you, buddy.
Oh man, appreciate you. Likewise, brother. All right. And if there's anything else y'all want us to cover, let us know in the comments. Send us a message and we'll make it happen. All right, y'all.
Be good. We out.